Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we have an interesting episode. You definitely want to stick around for this one, so make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about Russell Westbrook. It's been a while since we talked about Russell Westbrook, and I don't really think there's been much news around the Lakers, but I think this news here is a pretty interesting development. As y'all know, after the Lakers acquired Russell Westbrook last season, they were picked as the favorites to represent the Western Conference, and they certainly acted like it. Right? They carried themselves with that energy. Russell Westbrook was hype. Carmelo Anthony, I watched some interviews of him. He's like, "Yeah, we got to do it." LeBron was telling cats to keep the same energy. So it seemed like the Lakers going into that season, they had some pretty high expectations of themselves. Well, we all know that the season ended up being a major disappointment, and now the situation is pretty much degenerated to the point where we've even heard that the Lakers have tried to trade Russell Westbrook, right? For who? Kyrie Irving, right? Russell Westbrook are the two guys that they were looking to swap each other out for, primarily because they have similar salaries. Now, Russell Westbrook is earning a little bit more than Kyrie Irving, about $10 million more. But I think if you threw in some players, maybe some draft picks, they would be able to make it happen. They'll be able to make that swap happen. But when Russell Westbrook decided to opt into the last year of his contract with the Lakers, he seemed pretty excited, right? He seemed pretty excited. And then when the Lakers hired their new coach in Darvin Ham, he seemed pretty supportive. I think he was the only guy at in the media day when they were introducing him to the media. Rob Pelinka and these guys, he was there. He was supportive. And judging from some of the things that Darvin Ham has said, based on some of the reports that we've gotten, Darvin Ham has spoken glowingly of Russell Westbrook. He's praised him. He said a lot of people forget how great Russell Westbrook is. He said some things that I didn't really quite understand, where he wants him to be like this defensive force. I'm like, okay, when was Russell Westbrook this defensive force? He also spoke about I think it was in Las Vegas when he ran into him in an elevator, and they spoke about some things, whatever it is. But today we're getting an article basically from CBS Sports that basically is talking about Darvin Ham will now have the power to bench Russell Westbrook, which I think is going to be very interesting. But before we get into that, this video is brought to you by our sponsor, Aura, who's also the official sponsor of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Do you know what the fastest growing crime in America is today? It's identity theft. Imagine trying to log into your email only to see that your password has been changed. Then you start getting weird notifications from your bank and credit cards, only to find out that all of your personal and sensitive information has been totally compromised. If you think it can happen to you and your family, just know that in 2020, over 49 million Americans were victims to identity theft, costing them a combined $56 billion. That is why we are excited to partner with Aura, who's the sponsor of this video. Aura is the #1 identity theft and financial fraud protection. Aura monitors the dark web and alerts you if any of your passwords and accounts have been breached. And funny enough, after using Aura, I discovered some of my credentials were floating around in the dark web, and the app showed me exactly when and where the breach happened. In addition, Aura allows you to set spending alerts, and they'll notify you of any suspicious transactions. Aura is 4 times faster than any of its competitors in alerting you if someone is trying to open a credit card or obtain a loan using your name. And remember this, every 14 seconds, someone becomes a victim of identity fraud. Don't let it happen to you. Now click the link in the description and try Aura for free for 2 weeks and see if any of you or your family's personal information has been compromised. Start your free trial at aura.com/dreamerspro. And when you try Aura, by using the link in the description below, also know that you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So let me get into this article and let me just read what it has to say. So it starts off with the headline: Darvin Ham will have the power to bench Russell Westbrook if he stays with the Lakers, per report. The article continues on. One of the many points of contention between Russell Westbrook and Frank Vogel was Westbrook's usage late in games. On a few occasions, Vogel benched Westbrook for crunch time, thinking other players would have earned the right to close for the Lakers. Westbrook didn't like that. I earned the right to be in the closing lineup, he told reporters after one such incident. Vogel lost his job. The only reason Westbrook is still on the team is that nobody else wants him. It therefore shouldn't surprise anyone that Vogel's replacement, Darvin Ham, has been empowered to use Westbrook as he sees fit. According to The Athletic, Ham will have more power to bench Russell Westbrook down the stretch of games, and that power could eventually extend to removing Westbrook from the starting lineup. Reports last season indicated that Vogel could have taken that step, but that he feared in doing so he'd risk losing Westbrook's commitment entirely. All signs point to Westbrook and the Lakers seeking a split. The Lakers have openly shopped him in trades, most notably for Kyrie Irving. As I said before, Westbrook split with his longtime agent Thad Foucher due to irreconcilable differences. Foucher said in a statement afterwards that he believed Westbrook should accept Ham's offer to buy into a new role as a more defensive-oriented starter. That suggests that Westbrook would rather continue to play his typical style on another team. To this point, it is not clear if any team would be interested in giving him such control. Strategically speaking, there is a compelling argument in favor of benching Westbrook from the get-go. The Lakers have built a roster almost entirely devoid of shooting. There is not a career 38 three-point shooter to be found on this team. Kendrick Nunn is no marksman, but he's at least a decent enough shooter to draw defenders away from LeBron and Anthony Davis. Westbrook is not. If that isn't evident today, it will be early in the season. I think that this thing is going to end up being ugly between the Lakers and Russell Westbrook. The moment Darvin Ham decides that he is going to bench Russell Westbrook, and justifiably, I might add, it is going to be a disaster. Russell Westbrook is going to pout. He's going to complain. And I think it's going to cause some problems in that locker room. I don't think Russell Westbrook is one of these guys that's going to take it laying down. And the reason I'm saying that is because of his last year with the Washington Wizards. It's not like as if we're talking about Russell Westbrook as an NBA player that's like, that has no game and hasn't been able to play well in years. Just last season, think about this, just last season for the Washington Wizards, he played 65 games. In those 65 games, he averaged 22 points per game on 44% shooting from the field, 31.5% shooting from the from the three-point line, 66% shooting from the free throw line, and I'm being kind. He got you 11.5 rebounds, 11.7 assists, 4.8 turnovers with 1.4 steals. So in Russell Westbrook's mind, I think Russell Westbrook is probably looking at the situation like, okay, wait a minute. When I joined the team, everybody was twerking it up all over the place and jumping for joy because they thought we were going to win a championship. And I assume that people felt that way because of the addition of moi. I'm talking for Russell Westbrook. So you add me to the team. I have a down year. I don't fit in very well with the offense and with the schemes that the Lakers were running. And then the very next season, you jokers are telling me I need to go to the bench? Oh, y'all got to be crazy. Probably that is what Russell Westbrook is thinking. And if you put yourself in the shoes of Russell Westbrook, you kind of understand it. Because Westbrook didn't join the Lakers as a bad player. He was still, he just finished averaging a triple-double the season prior. Now, I get it. The triple-double didn't amount to, victories in the playoffs, and he didn't make it to the Eastern Conference, semifinals, finals, whatever. I get that. But he still was getting buckets on his own, right? He was still doing his thing. So for you guys now to tell him, not you guys, but for the Lakers in this case, to tell Russell Westbrook, nah, bro, you're going to have to sit that down, it's going to be problems. It is going to be problems. Another thing worth noting is this. Russell Westbrook has a huge ego. Guess what? Every great player in the NBA has a huge ego, unless they've maybe gone through some injuries and they understand their limitations, which is quite evident to them, and therefore they're going to take a lesser role. In the case of Russell Westbrook, he hasn't had any major injuries. So I think that's one of the reasons why Russell Westbrook is going to have some issues. Russell Westbrook is probably going to look at the situation and say to himself, when did I become bad all of a sudden that I can't stay on the floor in fourth quarters? And let me tell you, the thing that's going to make it even worse is when you tell him you're benching him for some dude that he believes he's better than. It's not like as if you're benching him for another top 75 player. So imagine what's going to be going through Russell Westbrook's mind. I think it's going to be a mess. That's one thing. Another thing I want to say before I wrap this up, it's a question really to the audience, and I've been thinking about it. The question is this. Was joining the Lakers the biggest mistake Russell Westbrook made in his NBA career? This is a legitimate question I have for you guys. Why do I say this? Because prior to him joining the Lakers, yeah, Russell Westbrook was never a champion, but we never looked at him the way we look at him now. Now, some people have said, well, he's playing on the biggest stage in the game, and that could be true. But it's not like as if Russell Westbrook was playing on teams that were losing every year of his career. I mean, the guy has gone to the finals. He's been to the playoffs. God knows how many times. If I try to check right now, how many times Russell Westbrook has been to the playoffs, he's been to the playoffs at least 10 times in his career. At least 10 times in his career. So we're not talking about some fringe player. I mean, the guy made the playoffs in 2000, from 2009, 10, 11, 12. Like, he made the playoffs for so many years. And in some of those years, he had some deep runs. One year he played for 17 games, 20 games. Another year he played 19 games. Another year he played 18 games. So we're not talking about some guy that's like some regular Joe walking off the street. We didn't really think about Russell Westbrook this way. We didn't really. And it's almost jarring to see how public opinion has swayed. Now, is it just us, like, all of a sudden changing our perspective on Westbrook? No, he did. I mean, you saw the numbers. We all talked about it last season. But at the same time, my gosh, it's startling to see, how people view Russell Westbrook all of a sudden. And the final question I have for you guys is this. If the Lakers do, in fact, decide that Russell Westbrook is going to be coming off the bench, do you think he's going to request a trade?